First off, I got everything cleaned out. I just wiped it off with a rag. Got everything as dry and clean as could be. Everything looks pretty good. Start by putting this needle back in into its spot. And if you recall, it was out 2 3/4 turns from all the way in. So there's a quarter, half, 1, half, 2, 2 3/4 right there. Just a little bit more. I remember that was on an angle. I'm going to wait and put this cap back on till the end till I get that on there, because I know it was centered up on there, and we'll go from there. Alright, needle and seat first. That was the other thing that came out of there. And this is probably the hardest part of the whole shoot and caboodle there. Alright, drop the pin in there. Get my spring. Set my spring in place. And hopefully I can get this on camera. Got that pin in there. Got to hook this U thing here on the needle. And there is a bump on the back side of that for that spring. Get there where it's supposed to be. Get the screw in there. Small carburetors make for small screws. Okay, and then just double check it and actuate it and make sure that the needle is coming up and down when you press on the spring. Everything's working correctly. And then tighten that down. Okay, I'll double check it again because it's tight. Looks good. Alright, I got a new gasket for here. One goes in one way right there. And then the steel plate over the top. Alright, we're getting there on this side. As best I could. The gasket goes first, then the diaphragm, make sure all the holes line up, and then the cover. And there's 4 screws for that. These will go crisscross so you're not torquing that gasket. I'm just getting them on finger tight right now. And I'll tighten them down evenly in a second once I get them all in. Okay. Put our cap back on. Try to put our cap back on. Pretty tight fit. Adjust that back to where it was there. I'll be real close to where it was at. Alright, half of it's together. We'll do the other half here in just a second. Okay, now we go and drop in the screen. It goes into this hole right here. I'm going to use a drill bit to press that in there. Set it in and push it down with even pressure until it stops. You really don't have to force it in. There's a lip inside there that stops it. So got that. Oh, make sure that your drill bit's not dirty on the end either, because you don't want to put dirt right back into where you're trying to be cleaning stuff. And then originally we had this blue plastic diaphragm, but the one that matches up in the kit is this fiber one, so we're going to end up using it. Drop that on just like such. Drop the gasket on. And we've got this cover. Takes a little bit of work to get all this stuff lined up. Make sure all the holes and everything are lined up good. Put the hold that in. The bulb on and the 2 screws. Make sure that still actuates fine. And we'll tighten that down. Should be able to put it back together. Load her up with gas and see how well she starts. Alright. Fuel throttle cable back on. Get these hoses back on here. The small one goes on the bottom side, like mentioned before. Large one goes on the top side. Takes a little bit of setting up to get this right, but thread your 2 screws through into the holes. Make sure your gasket on the back side is in the correct position. Okay, you don't want to get this top one too tight because your choke rotates on that. Back in with the air filter or air cleaner, however you prefer. Make sure not to over tighten these screws holding the carburetor and the air cleaner on, because everything just goes into plastic. Alright, she's all back together. We'll put some gas in it and fire it up, see how she runs. That's the carburetor rebuild.